Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Hokyoji's Sunday morning Dharma talk. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome our speaker today, Tim Macejak. Tim has been involved in Zen practice for over 30 years. There must be more now, right, Tim? He began Zen practice at a teacherless sangha led by a group of experienced practitioners, and then practiced with a teacher at Cedar Rapids Zen Center, followed by some years with at-home practice. He has done a yearly retreat at Hokyoji since the early 90s. He's the author of the book Zen Unleashed, Everyday Buddhist Wisdom from Man's Best Friend, released in 2013. He's a past board president, and he's a current member of the Business Development Committee. So thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Jushin. So, lots of things happened yesterday, and the thought crossed my mind, maybe I should change my talk, but doing that at the last minute can be hazardous, and I really wasn't sure what sort of wisdom I would have, but I'm not unaware of the events yesterday, but my talk really will be what I prepared. So, my talk today is going to be on dependent origination. It is something that for most of my years I have avoided. I start reading it, I'm like, what? Or I read it and I'm trying to picture the different links and causes, and I can't picture it in my head. So I know I did tackle it once around 7 years ago. That's because I found some notes that were dated from 7 years ago. And I had kind of a small aha moment back then, and I had another recent aha moment, and I wanted to share those with you. They're aha moments for me. They may not be aha moments for you at all. So one thing when preparing for this talk, I came across something I'd never seen before. It was kind of cool. There are actually pictures associated with the different 12 points in dependent origination. And so I wanted to share those and run through those quickly. Each item in the 12 parts of dependent origination, you could do an entire talk on. I'm going to go through them quickly, but in a nice review, or even a first time, whatever, but also share with you these photos. So bring up first screen. The first part of dependent origination, the Buddha called ignorance, represented by an image of a blind woman who blunders forward, unable to see where she is going. So I got to move you guys. So ignorance is blindness, not seeing. It's a lack of insight into the reality of things. The second link, volitional formations. And I'll just tell you something here. More than once, when I came across the phrase volitional formations, I just shut the book. And it's like, is this even English? What is this even? I'd look up volitional in the dictionary. But hopefully I have a little better idea today if this also confused me the way it did you. But represented by a potter. Just as a potter forms clay into something new, an action begins a sequence that leads to new consequences. Once put into motion, the potter's wheel continues to spin without much effort. Likewise, an action creates a predisposition in the mind. So this whole idea of the wheel continues to spin without much effort. This is kind of our predispositions. And we will come back more to this one later. Third link, consciousness. The rebirth consciousness, or consciousness that links on, is represented by a monkey going from window to window. This represents a single consciousness perceiving through the various sense organs. The monkey represents the very primitive spark of self-consciousness, which is the first moment in the mental life of the new being. Fourth link, mind-body. Depicted, and I should say, and when the Buddha is talking about these things, in each of these he's saying, with consciousness as a condition, mind-body arises. With ignorance as a condition, volitional formations arise. With volitional formations as a condition, consciousness rises. kind of this progression that's happening here that he's describing. The fourth link, mind body, depicted by people sitting in a boat with one of them steering. The boat symbolizes form and its occupants, the mental aggregates. With mind body as a condition, the six sense spheres arise. Depicted by a house with 6 windows and a door. The senses are the portals whereby we gain our impression of the world. Each of the senses is the manifestation of our desire to experience things in a particular way. And way more than 6 windows and doors here. Very Zen drawing, I guess. We're not going to focus on the exact details, but the idea. With the 6 sense spheres as a condition, contact arises. A couple embracing depicts the contact of the sense organs with their objects. With this link, the psychophysical organism begins to interact with the world. The sensuous impression is symbolized by a kiss. This indicates that there is a meeting with an object and a distinguishing of it prior to the production of feeling. Stop that share. Bring up the next. The 7th link, feeling, symbolized by an eye pierced by an arrow. The arrow represents sense data impinging on the sense organs, in this case, the eye. In a very vivid way, the image suggests the strong feelings which sensory experience evokes. Although only painful feeling is here implied, both painful and pleasant are intended. Even a very small condition causes a great deal of feeling in the eye. Likewise, no matter what kind of feeling we experience, painful or pleasurable, we are driven by it and conditioned by it. With feeling as a condition, craving arises. Represented by a person drinking beer. Even though it harms you, no matter how much you drink, you just keep on drinking. Also known as attachment, it is a mental factor that increases desire without any satisfaction. With craving as a condition, grasping arises. Represented by a monkey reaching for a fruit. Also known as clinging, it mentally means grabbing at an object one desires. With grasping as a condition, becoming arises. Represented by a woman in late pregnancy, just as she is about to bring forth a fully developed child, the karma that will produce the next lifetime is fully potentialized, though not yet manifest. In the presence of becoming, there is a rising in a new birth. This link is presented by the very explicit image of a woman giving birth to a child. Naturally, where there's birth, there's also old age and death. The final link is represented by a dying person. Aging is both progressive, occurring every moment of our lifetime, and degenerative, which leads to death. And that all leads back to the first link, ignorance. So the first aha moment I had many years ago, and it's kind of interesting that it was an aha moment, was like, I thought, wait a moment, these are links. I mean, I must have heard that like 50 times, but they're linked together like a chain. And this image of a chain came up. And I thought, there's that saying, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. In preparation for a talk, I saw an image of exactly what I kind of started thinking about. And that is, there's a chain, and we're breaking the chain of these 12 steps that keep feeding into each other. Now, this was posted on Facebook. The person posting it said they got it from the most venerable Buddha Dasa Bhikkhu of Swan Mak Monastery in Thailand. And he wrote, kind of in his little comment, he wrote a bunch of things. But one thing he wrote, he said, for me, the 12-link model came in extremely handy when comparing teachings of different masters to see which chain they targeted. For example, letting go versus awareness versus forms. Arguments over contradictions of teachings can be settled here. So I read this, comparing teachings of different masters to see which chain they targeted. And I thought to myself, no. I mean, far be for me to say someone on Facebook I'm disagreeing with. I think they might not have and on my understanding of the dependent origination is lifetime week of just ignoring it. But I read, I said, no, And I came up with a different drawing. The circle I got from Thong Trai Temple, some post online, but I added a bunch of stuff to it. So this is my second aha moment, which would be this diagram that I made. So uh, my thought was that the Buddha starts out in his very first teaching, the Four Noble Truths, by identifying where the weak link is. And the weak link is, I think it's number 8. Number 8, craving. And it's right there. Suffering can cease by ending craving. Suffering is caused by craving. It's right there. He's identifying where the weak link is and where our practice should be focused on. And we can kind of look around and just check. Our other things seem like they're weaker. So aging and death, well, that one's clearly not weaker. Consciousness, not going to just work on that any. You're going to be conscious. So, but let me go to kind of like right where things start to happen with contact. So, as the Buddha's described, and he's all kind of seen in our own experience and observations, with contact, something is seen, heard, remembered, or thought. Next, arising from that is feeling. Either we have a pleasant feeling, an unpleasant feeling, or a neutral feeling, and it shows up right away, no gap. And then from that feeling comes craving. We want more of something, we want to get rid of something, or we want to tune something out. So is contact a weak link? Well, how would you remove contact? Sometimes people have gone and lived by themselves in the mountains, but all they're doing is removing contact from people. They're not removing cold, hunger. They're not removing boredom. They're not removing their contact with their memories of people. So that one's pretty hard to work on. Feeling. A friend of mine in high school, when we were both getting interested in Buddhism, the reason he liked Buddhism was he really liked Spock from Star Trek, and he felt that Buddhism would make him more like Spock, that he could be, emotionless and calm. And a misunderstanding, because the Buddha never said, said you could get rid of your feelings. Our own experience, they don't, like, you just don't turn them off with a switch. And then maybe associated with that are thoughts. Our thoughts, can we turn off our thoughts? I think we've determined in our life that no, we cannot. And the Buddha never said stop thinking. So it's part of something that's needed in life. And we'll come across this with new people. They will try Zazen for the first time, and they will say, I can't do this. I'm no good at it. I couldn't stop my thinking. And we have to explain, you're not really trying to stop your thinking. That's impossible. So one, after craving, clinging or attachment. Could that possibly be seen as a weak link? And example I'm going to give here is you're on a diet and you have a housemate, roommate, partner, whoever brings home, they've been at a party and they bring home a piece of cake, some rich chocolate thing, probably 12 to 1400 calories, and they put that piece of cake in the refrigerator. And it looks really, really good. You really want it, but you're like, I'm on this diet. And you say, I'm not going to have that cake. I'm not going to have that cake. I'm not going to have that cake. And then you don't have the cake. You have succeeded through force of will in not, eating the piece of cake. So does that indicate this might be weak link? Well, first, no, because you kind of suffered the whole time through it. This was not an easy process. And second, it's just so much easier to address it at craving. That the craving of, oh my God, that cake looks so delicious, and the thoughts that came before it, that's the point to look at. And if we look at my drawing here, Zazen mindfulness, there's an arrow drawing in between feelings and sensations and craving. So as the Buddha would say, with feelings, a conditioned craving arises. However, mindfulness and our Zazen makes the gap between those two things wider. Some things happen instantly when we come into contact, we immediately have a feeling of, I want to get rid of it, I want to keep it, I want to have a neutral feeling toward it. But we actually have a chance to widen the gap here with mindfulness by observing what's going on and putting more space between the feelings and the craving. So I do have the precepts written here and an arrow drawn to the clinging or attachment because the Buddha certainly didn't ignore this part of the link. That craving doesn't end overnight or ever, and then things still happen. And so he had teachings first that helped us reduce creating harm. This going to include all his teachings on virtue, the precepts. And so there's that aspect. And the second aspect is it helps with that second one, mental formations. And I didn't draw an arrow there first because that'd be too many arrows. And second, it's really not an arrow because these are links. They're linked together. Some extra reading I did on mental formations since I found it kind of frustrating image. These are also been described as habits and predispositions that we accumulate from our past actions. Also a visual image of like ruts in the road created by our car. And we've been driving on these same ruts for a while. And so our predisposition might be to always be resentful of any criticism, might be leaning toward control, might be always replaying resentment in our mind, might be always grasping at being reassured, might be hypercritical, whether it be toward ourselves or others. We have these predispositions. They're deeply conditioned and they are before mindfulness can operate. So they come immediately after ignorance. There isn't, any place for mindfulness to come in. However, with changing our behavior with the precepts, with our habits, with the habit of mindfulness on Zazen that also links down, we form different tire ruts. So the mental formations link never gets weakened. It just changes. And hopefully it changes to, our ruts are on a better road. So the last part here, I got the first two noble truths and they're pointing at ignorance. And so ignorance isn't really quite a weak link. The Buddha has taught we are not separate selves. I have no visual optics of this. I've not been able to verify this experientially. So ignorance is pretty deeply entrenched. But he did start addressing this because it's an area that's addressable. Consciousness you can't address, aging and death you can't address, but ignorance you can. And the very first primary thing about reducing ignorance is to understand where the weak link is in the chain, which is that craving. That it's pointing us to the leverage point, so to speak. And also say that, as we verify through practice how we're able to loosen craving, how mindfulness helps, that comes back and helps to reduce ignorance. Kind of like you could say insight. Our own personal insight helps to reduce ignorance. So it kind of circles back. So I'm going to finish this talk here with the one thing I kept from my notes from 2017. I got rid of most of them. I just kind of started over. But somewhere in my research, then my looking into things more deeply, my attempt at navigating these dependent origination, was there been some sort of imaginary conversation between a monk and an old woman. And of course, I did not write down where I read this, so I could not go back and find it. But I did want to read, to finish my talk, what the old woman said at the end of this imaginary conversation with the monk. She said, so the links are just kind of what happens when you don't practice on the path, says the old lady. You could almost kind of call them the not doing anything suffering links. She pauses. Her eyes grow big. Thank you for listening.
All right, thank you. Let's open up for discussion. Questions.
Tim, thank you for that. That just feels so absolutely relevant. Where in a time where I think people are really grasping for foundation in life, I'm seeing this in my work all the time, and also as a person who has been a practicing Buddhist for I don't know how many years now, not probably half of what you have been, but I find that when I stray away from the precepts, the Eightfold Path, it always links back to craving. I have had a sobriety journey in my life, and I can see that uh, not so much for alcohol anymore, but when I have that um, unsettled feeling of I need something, you know, I need to purchase something, I need to indulge in something. It is always the unsettled emotion that I'm not acknowledging that leads to the thing that I want to attach to. And this is something in my practice that I am constantly talking to people about because I think it's so relevant that it's our emotional life that is guiding both the times we stay on the path, but also the times we take a detour. And it's that awareness, both of our sentient being and what those physical cues are that you kind of talked about, the sensual life, but also those emotions that arrive that put us in this pattern of craving. And I just so appreciate this talk because it really kind of re-highlights for me the importance of really, it's so amazing how every link in that chain is relevant to my emotional life, my intellectual life, but also my sensual life, but also the struggles that I see every day in my work. And so thank you so much.
Thank you, Kat.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Tim. That's probably the best explanation of the 12 links chain of causation I've ever heard. And highlighting it on craving is really quite an insight. So I've just gone through kind of Swedish death cleaning in my house after making many passes of cleaning up my house. I finally hired an estate sales team, and they packed 26 boxes and took 2 china cabinets. And of the 26 boxes, only 6 were really marked that they're going to be able to auction off. The rest are going to go to donation. So I think this idea of the unsettled feeling, I mean, it's like this is another stage of saying goodbye. This is another stage of letting go. This is, in one way, it's like keeping me busy is preventing me from looking at the emotions of being unsettled, but at the same time, all this unsettling is coming up. So it's there. I think the idea of noticing that there's unsettling, this restlessness. So in the stuff that was upstairs was all clear glass from my parents, because my parents were really into clear glass. And then I noticed the stuff that I had stored away in the basement that I also got mostly from my parents was colored glass. And colored glass apparently sells much better than clear glass these days. So I ended up bringing a lot of it upstairs. And then I noticed way in the back, there were some pieces of what I thought was silver and silver prices. So this is getting into craving and magical thinking. So so there were 2 candlesticks, a tray, and a very large tray. And knowing that silver was up to like over $90 an ounce, I thought I would go to silver and gold and coin and bar sales place. So I went there, and the place was hopping. I mean, there were people kind of shoulder to shoulder around the counters, and there were thousands of dollars being counted out on the counter. It was just amazing, and the diversity of people there was really incredible. There was a guy who was really well dressed with an ascot. I haven't seen anybody with an ascot in I don't know how many years. And then the woman next to me was in like goth wear, all black, shredded jeans. She's pulling silver eagles out of her pockets and putting them on the counter. So I wait my turn. I bring out all this stuff. The woman clerk comes over. She weighs it and she says $3. It was all silver plate. So my dream of getting a little compensation for all the unsettling I've gone through just goes up in smoke. And she said, "Do you want it?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I want it." They were nice crisp bills at least. So share that.
Thank you, Jan.
Shinko, Maryland.
Well, Tim, I want to thank you for the talk and also for taking the fear out of my possible study someday of dependent origination. It was just delightful to see visually. That was quite a help for me, and to hear you go around it, and those various diagrams at the sort of at the beginning of your talk were quite nice. And I thought, oh, is that what that means? Oh, is that what that means? So I'm going to go back to it, not today or tomorrow, but I think I'm now able to do it. So thank you for your offering this morning. I really appreciate it.
I'll add a little bit. Tim, thank you for your talk. I do have one thing if you want to, maybe we can dig in a little bit. In one part in your diagram, I noticed you put desire/craving.
Yeah, that's how it that's how where I took the drawing from.
Yeah.
So I still use the terminology. Sometimes craving to me sounds like a better word descriptive, like if I'm talking to someone not familiar with Buddhism, because there can be, you know, desire to be a better person and desire to help others, and there's different types of desire where craving just sounds bad.
Yeah,
But
no, I was
what's
curious.
your thoughts?
Yeah, because Tana is translated as craving. It's not normally translated as desire.
Oh,
So desires are neutral, exactly what you said. Like the desire for enlightenment, the desire to learn a foreign language, even the desire for a beer, it could be bad, neutral, indifferent. But the thirst and the craving for something is where generally based on this model where the suffering comes from. Yeah. So that was the one. It was like, oh no, desire is good. It's being attached to those results, or being attached to keeping and clinging to keeping and getting what happens. That I think that where thing can go.
I didn't know it was
Right.
usually translated. I thought sometimes I translated both ways, but I like craving better as a word, so it's good to hear your reinforcement of that.
Yeah. Because if desire were bad, it would. Well, because there's I'm not going to mention them because they're litigious, but there is not a Zen teacher. There's a teacher out there who claims to not have any desire, to only be curious. And I'm like, is that right? It's like, so are you just not curious about what would happen if you stopped eating and just laid in bed and found out what dying would be like? It's like, I don't think that's really right. So, yeah. You have a desire to get out of bed in the morning. I think that's good. And also, I do think it's appropriate because it is hard, it is difficult, it is challenging when the Buddha, the Buddha, he changed the way he taught over his lifetime, and he changed his models of what he was teaching. We've got them all at once. We don't have like his final book. They didn't even have books in those days. I have that problem now at university. I have recorded lectures that are now very far away from my written course notes. And I'm like, oh gosh, I keep forgetting things that are recorded. And it's like, no, I don't believe that anymore. You got to do something else. I believe this other thing. But the thing, the sutra that talks about enlightenment, he's like, this is really subtle. This is really difficult to see. I think I give up. And then like Indra comes down and goes, nope, there's some people who get it. Why don't you go talk to them? And actually when he's coming away from that, he meets some guy on the road and he says, I am enlightened. I am the world conqueror. I am the blah, 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 blah. And the guy goes, apparently in Indian, it's he wags his tongue. I don't know. Because that's what it literally says in the sutras. He wags his tongue. But I think it's this. And then he goes to his former companions. And first of all, they're very upset because he has eaten and then they kind of go like, and he goes like, well, have you ever known me to act this way? Have you ever known me to make these claims before? Do you think I would just be boasting? And so he sort of wins them over. But this is very difficult. So it's difficult for ourselves to grasp. And it's difficult to then see that the same thing is happening for other people. That other people aren't selves either. They too are subject to causes and conditions, the links of dependent origination, and then for the both of us, for all of us together, interdependent. We certainly push each other's buttons. So it's relevant and difficult. Anyone else? Sarah?
Morning, Tim. Thanks so much for your talk and for especially sharing the images of the 12 links and your interpretation of them and where practice fits in. I've long enjoyed the volitional formations image of the potter. And I think sometimes when I'm in situations where I'm doing something over and over again and expecting a different result, or being in a situation or having a conversation that's difficult with a coworker, all these things. And it's like I want it to be a different result. And inevitably, there's certain habits that come up that stop that. And in my mind, I sometimes think like, oh, well, that's that pot that I made with that thing, that habit that's sitting on a shelf. And it's all of these little pots of my habits that I, as a potter, have made. And I think about like, what can I do to take that pot off the shelf and like throw it on the floor and break it? Um, and there's something there just about like the recognition that sometimes the what I'm doing over and over again that feels unsatisfying or feels like I can't break through to this better result or a better, I don't know, reaction from me or being a better person kind of goes back to these habits, right? All of this karma that's been formed that you have to work through to kind of get to the next place. Anyways, I just wanted to say thanks. I appreciate it today.
Thank you.
Something else that just occurred to me as I'm listening to other people talking is that in a way, we need all these links, even the ones that are difficult or we're lost, you know, we need that experience of having these low points and these feelings as uh, Jan said, these feelings of unsettling. And we cannot get on the Eightfold Path until we have the consciousness of, I am in pain. You know, I need to do something else. And what I do over and over again is not working. So it's a painful cycle in some ways, but for the like rebirth that you talk about, we absolutely have to go through all of them. I think lots of times we focus on what I do negative in life, what I do that causes me pain, that causes me other people pain. But in fact, those experiences are very valuable. This is the link in the chain that I'm on right now. You know, what is my awareness? What is experience bringing to my consciousness? You know, it sucks to be here, but I need this to be able to progress on. I absolutely need to be here. And so anyway, I really like this cyclic uh, depiction of the human experiences that we go through and how we arise out of them. So thank you.
There was at Upaya, they talked over Rohatsu about the flower garland sutra, which is another very difficult thing to understand. But someone gave a really good talk on one section where Maya in her womb contains all the Buddhas. So Maya is delusion. So the source of all Buddhas is delusion. As we've just heard, we need to go through all this to figure it out. This is what we have to work with. And the Tibetans go so far as saying, like, you choose the circumstances of your birth. You choose your parents. You choose this, the karma that you're walking into in a way, because that's what you have to work with. And that's what it's not just that you have to work with that, but that's what you choose to work with. And it's a completely different feeling if you think about this is what I have to work with, but this is also what I've chosen to work with. This is what I need to get through to get somewhere else, to get someplace that's a little easier. So I think that's a really useful way of looking at all the karma that we've accumulated. And Katagiri Roshi, people that I would think that they don't want their karma, that their karma is a bad thing. He said that no, it's not good or it's not evil, it's not bad, but it gives you energy. And this is in the same idea that your karma gives you energy because that's what you have to work with. That's what you notice. That's what you pay attention to. And so that's what gives you energy to move forward. So I just wanted to bring that up. I think that idea of Maya containing all the Buddhas within her womb is quite an image. So thank you.
Anything else to add? Do you want to add? Do you have anything to add, Tim?
Nope.
All right. Well, I think then we're done for the day. It's good for all that. It was great to hear from everybody. It's always nice when there's a lot of discussion. Let's see. Coming up, Hokyoji, we're sort of coming to the end of our practice year, getting ready for mud season. We still have the winter practice period, though. That will start February 2nd. It's just 2 weeks this year. The first week is also online. If you're so inclined, you can attend online. We've arranged it so that the Chosan discussion is at night. So you can do it after work, and you can join us in the morning for meditation if you like. You can sign up at hokyoji.org under events. Next week we have Reverend Musho Paduke Smith will be our speaker. And yeah, that's it. So thank you everybody for joining. Let's close with the 4 vows. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it. All right. Thank you again, everybody. Everyone have a great Sunday and stay warm.